Okay, well, so we're going to discuss some things we touched upon before, some things not. It's interesting. We have one thing from Matos, one thing from Masei. We're double parts this week. We're going to do the thing from Masei first. That's how I think it makes more sense to be so related. Okay, so first off, here's the question we're going to deal with. What is the yesod of number 3? Right? What's number 3 all about? Oh, okay, sorry, we have more here. Here we go. Thank you for being so ideal. What is the yesod of number 3? Right, the number 3. What's it all about? What was the purpose of the 42 Masaot? We know Klaus went through for 42 Masaot. What's that all about? Spiritually, and what is our weekly Masa? It means you and me. So here he says in this. I cut out a big piece of this, but let's see. Indian maybe is Masod Yisrael Midbar. Right? Everybody knows at the beginning of Parshas Masei. It says Ve'ela Masod v'Kulei v'Yisum Mei v'Yachanu Be v'Yisum Mei v'Yachanu Ve. So I did that 42 times. There are 42 different spaces that we had in our trip from Mitzrayim to Eretz. Those are the Masod. Masod means a trip. Masa, it's the modern organization. I don't know if they were coming from the Torah or the opposite of the Torah, but either way, the term Masa means like a trip, a journey. So the 52 Masaot, 42, excuse me, I keep saying 52, I apologize. The 42 Masaot that the Jewish people did were what we're focusing. Okay? Indian Membes Masaot, Yisrael B'Midbar. Nira, Heyo Yedua, it's known, Shekol Shnei Dvarim HaRechokim Zemizeh B'Taklid Tzichem Lemtzoi. Yafeh. Two people that are very, very far from each other, two things which are very far from each other, need something in the middle. You see in this world, a negotiator. What's the whole concept of a negotiator? I always like to give the example of I think Lyndon Johnson was the vice president for Kennedy before he was president. He became president only because Kennedy got killed. In fact, Kennedy was actually thinking about dropping him. Kennedy probably would have been the president again in '64. He was very popular. Very good looking, very popular, and there were. It was. I think he died in 1963, and he would have dropped. He was going to drop Johnson as being his running mate. Right? Sometimes they do that. Vice president more for different reasons, etc. So, but anyway, and then you see how Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. That he Kennedy, of course, was killed, and that made Johnson president. Yeah, that's it. That's what happened. He went from being Suffolk off, and then I don't know what he would have done, Suffolk, who knows what, to being president of the United States. So anyway, but in his days, so the Kennedy was from Boston. He went to Harvard, Boston. Him and his brother Bobby, they were like the Boston. And the South, Johnson was from Texas, and the South was very, very strong. A lot of stuff, especially with civil rights. The reason there was no civil rights, I'm going too long into this example, but it's interesting. The reason there was civil rights was not going further. The blacks, it's a pressing part of American history. Besides the Civil War, it took 80, 90 years till the blacks really got ahead. Yeah. And a lot of the reason why was because the Southern bloc was very strong, and they did all filibusters and stuff like that, and they saw themselves like an army. And they had a general. I forgot the general's name. It was one of the senators from Georgia. Was very, very Kazakh. And he would, it's like a whole army. We'll put, if you try to do it, we'll do filibusters and this and that, and make how politics works. Anyway, so Johnson was from Texas, which is part of the South. So Johnson used to say to the Kennedys, "You guys speak Kennedy, and they speak South. And I know how to speak both. Kennedy is, they're the liberals in Massachusetts, and the other people in the South, down the old Confederates." So that's a nice example of the third. But every negotiation is like that, right? It was why do you need negotiators? Something like the Norwegians are negotiating between Israel and Palestinians. Why is Israel and Palestinians can't talk to each other? You have Norwegians. I'm not getting into politics. I'm just going to say. Okay, so that's the idea, guys. You have two things on the way on the side. You see an emtza. It's like that in the physical examples we gave down here, and it's like that b'kedusha also. So where does that leave us? Therefore, we came from a place of utter tumah. Goy b'kerev goy. Egypt was like a cesspool. How do we come to Israel? We need something in the middle. Shalu Darga, Basar Darga, Adbom Loretz. So that's what the 42 Masot is. Egypt is over here. That's the south. Eretz Yisrael, Elyon is over here.
Yeah.
You can't just jump from Egypt to Eretz Yisrael. You needed steps, and that's what each Masa was adding part to Klal Yisrael, to Kedusha, to allow them to get to Eretz Yisrael. Now I want to point out, obviously he realizes, that the original plan was going to go straight in. So that would have been some type of miracle. Meaning, if we'd gone in, we would have gone straight in and it would have worked out somehow. Yeah. Now this is very important. Just to add a layer to it, is that the way I understand what's going on in the Bria in general, based on sources, is that there's always like plan A and plan B. On one level, it should have been Adam Rishon stands in his test and the Tikkun is done. But there's definitely a strong plan B. I mean, in a certain way, it even sounds like Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to get to this mahalach of Eitz Das Tov Ra, Torah Shapell Peh, Torah Shem Chsav, right? Luchos Rishonos, Luchos Shnias. So on the one hand, the plan was Luchos Rishonos, but for sure, it's hard to say. It's a b'diavad that we have. It's a non-wanted thing, but on the other hand, it is wanted almost. You see, so on the one, here's a perfect example. On the one hand, there would have here you're saying that no, the 42 steps were definitely necessary. What do you mean? But we wouldn't have had that. That was like in Plan A, but in Plan B, you need that. Yeah. Okay. Venera. Let's think about a Jew's week, right? You're not working in high tech in some exciting store all the time. Like I speak to a lot of my Talmidim. It's a job, Rabbi. Making money. It's not my passion. Just now with the campaign, you're in touch with different Talmidim. You ask how there's it going. Fine. How's Parnasa? Some people in very, very exciting jobs. I always thank the Baruch Shalom. I work in such a. I also get paid to do all the things I do. It's just incredible that I get paid to teach people. Paid to run a yeshiva. No, he used to say you should come dancing. You want more money, Rabbeim want more money, you should dance to yeshiva. You should pay me. Believe me, the people will pay me to be a Rebbe here. And we pay people. That's incredible, right? But a lot of people. So Yidel in Europe is working hard and etc. It's a Yeshiva Mitzrayim. Many people, their job is a Shiabud. That's 6 days, and then what happened? But now we have to get to Shabbos. So how do we go from the Egypt of the week to the light of Shabbos? How do we do it? Ubechatzot Yom Erev Shabbat Midgala Ora Notzetz. At 12 o'clock already, there's a flickering light in Kedusha Shabbos. Vota Sheishos Ad Hatchol Shabbos Hemem Tzoi Bein Avda Shemei Chol Ben Kedusha Shabbos. How we get to Shabbos? We can't go straight to Shabbos. You need Erev Shabbos. Erev, the Sfas Emes is also Lashon of Larbev, Murav. Erev Shabbos is a time where already you feel a little Shabbos day, yeah? It's not Shabbos. You can do malacha, you can drive, you can do all the things. But inside, it's already, you're feeling it. That's them tzoy. Isn't that nice? Yeah. So he has a whole thing about 6, which I didn't understand, so I'm getting out to 6. I relate to 6, unfortunately. I just tried to ask Rabbi Rowe, also he wasn't sure what he's saying. Who sheish misbar sheish kanafim? That's the idea of 6. 6 is dafka, something like that. Zel kabbalah Shabbos, right? We say 6 of who makbil masos midbar. Okay, we don't need that other part. Shushav's main olam haba. So that's beautiful, Rabosai. So what is the Yesod of number 3? Now you know. What's the idea of number 3? 3 is the idea that pulls together the outside things. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Right? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. And I heard about Shem. It could be Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, etc. That's idea of 3 in general. Almost every 3 works like that. There's 2 on the outside, and there's something that's mitchaber. By the way, it's interesting I don't know if I ever saw anybody say it, but often, that people think like, I don't have children, I'll be more romantic, my wife. That's people think, the kid's going to bother, is he going to wake up? And it's the opposite. Someone told me, my Rebbe told me one time that really it's the opposite. Couples that don't have children, at a certain point they become more like brother sister. Men and women are the opposites. The kid is dafka mechaber them, brings them together somehow. So you see that. But there are many, many examples of the 3. We've spoken how many, but that's the idea. And that's the purpose of the 48 Masos. So that's a beautiful picture. Egypt, Eretz Yisrael, Elyon. How in the world can we get from here to here? 42 Masos. Yeah? Same thing. Shabbos in the week. The week, way down. Shiva Mitzrayim. Wow. And it's so true. Look at Yidden, Again, we're in yeshiva, so yeshiva is the whole time. But you have a Yidel, a Pasha Hasidic guy working hard at a pizza store. Shabbos puts on his shtreimel, the payas or Lydia who's going to his Rebbe. That's life. But you need Erev Shabbos is the time when the or is already. That's them. Sorry, that's 3.
Why Dafka 42?
I don't know. Well, it's the Shem base. I don't know. Okay, why is the parsha of Nedarim? Now, next parsha, we're going back now to Parshas Matot. So here's the question we're going to deal with. Why is the parsha of Nedarim so late in the Torah? And specifically, why after Parshas HaMoados? Okay, the last thing we did in Parshas Pinchas or both sides was the Moados. So Parsha, many of them, right? All the korbanot of the Moados, and Shabbos is mentioned there also. We do all the korbanos as you saw. What I love this. I think we did this piece in the past, but I want to do it again. What is the relation between the kedusha of Shabbos and Yom Tov and of Klal Yisrael? All right, how they'll rate it. Why is there no command of lo yachal dvar to non-Jews? What does that mean? Let's see the psukim. V'yadaber Moshe el Roshei Hamatzos v'nei Yisrael lemor zeder shiv tzivar Hashem. Ish ki yidor neder l'Hashem. This is the beginning of what we're going to read on Shabbos. When a person makes a neder l'Hashem, o yishav shvul asor Yisrael nafsho lo yachal dvaro. You cannot, you can't go back on your word. Okay, everything that you said, you have to do. Yafeh. Okay, so it's a nice question. That seems to be something that you have to hold by your word.
Yeah.
Why is it specifically Jews and not Jews? No such halacha of the Dharam and etc. by non-Jews, right? A non-Jew could decide not to eat apples, but it is no din. That's an interesting question. Why don't non-Jews have that din? Okay, here it goes. V'daber Shem Moshe Roshei Hamatzos ish ki yidon v'yesh lahavim. Lama iker hapaparsha zu ad kan b'shanat ha'Rabbeim kivush sicham v'od. Right? You think the Dharam, right, guys? I always think it's important to like. Somewhere in Bamidbar, we suddenly switched from like year 1, 2 to like year 40. You have to notice where that's in Parshas Baloscha, right? Yeah. You have to keep clear. Always like, what's the storyline? Like I gave that shir on the timeline. I think you were there, right? Well, you were there. Maybe I gave us. You were there. So I gave a shir on the timeline of the Korban. Like, wait. By Srisha, by Shani, Tanakh. Where you have to know those things. So here we're like, okay, Bereshis is them, and then we're in Mitzrayim. Not really Mitzrayim. Year 1, 2, something. Here we are. We're at the end, right? Yeah. So the Masos is how we got to the end. But here we're in Parshas 40 years. So 40 years. Now we have Parshas Nedarim, right? Why is it now? Why don't we have it earlier? That's his question. Next question. V'nir bekdem. Mashanu Omer b'Kabbalah Shabbat says Naru mi'afar kumi. Ayde ben Yishai beis chalachmi. Wake up from the dust. Arise through David. What's that referring to, guys? Mashiach. Right and left you will break out, and you should fear God. Ish ben Partzi through Mashiach again. Like, what are we talking about? Right? Rabbi Wolf spoke about this a little bit last Friday night. But let's look at the parsha. We're talking about Shabbos. We're talking about Mashiach, but it's Shabbos. So why are we speaking so much about Mashiach and Kabbalah Shabbos? A question which has to be asked.
You can't come on Shabbos.
What?
Because you can't come on Shabbos?
No, just in general. What's the shaykhs to Shabbos? Why are we talking so much about? Why are we talking about Mashiach on Shabbos? What would you think we should talk about in Kabbalah Shabbos, guys? Shabbos, right? We're talking about Mashiach. Mineri, I love this line. This is part of the reason I did this. We definitely did this once, or at least this idea somewhere else. Guys, you want to know what's our relationship to Mashiach right now? Nothing. We're waiting for him. No. Mashiach, that loving soul, is sending light into our hearts even today. Just like a grandfather, right? Avraham Avinu was thinking about Klal Yisrael years later, right? And a big person is thinking about what his generation is going to look like. Mashiach cares about us already, right? That's Nevish Mashiach, and he's sending us light. Like, now, what does that mean? I don't know exactly what. People say like this, I'm sending you love, and they don't know what they mean, but really Mashiach knows what he means, and he's sending stuff into our hearts. Mishlachas is a harurim delev, like light. I know exactly what Zarurim is, like Zohar. B'maram Mashiach above is sending into our hearts l'chazkim la'odem apa odem begalus. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Yeah. You're feeling down one day. But Kadosh Baruch is worried about you. Who's also worried about you? Mashiach Tzidkenu. Mashiach is. I just saw it's interesting when the Chavetz Chaim used to sit for hours and talk about the tzaros of Klal Yisrael, hours, and cry for the tzaros of Klal Yisrael, and he used to try to be Ma'or Hashem, and he used to try to be Ma'or Old Doros. He says, "Come, Abbas, you speak to the Abbas, the Vakish from the Tzaddikim. You have to do something for Klal Yisrael." He used to ask. So it's this, there's a reality we live in, and there's a reality of. Like the tzaddikim, like they're in touch with each other. They say Rav David Abba Chatzeris said he never saw the Tasha Rebbe. Rav David Chatzeris said the Tasha Rebbe was the one who. Why did he daven very, very late? He davened like right before Mincha, and he davened Mincha Shachris, Mincha Marv. Don't try this at home, okay? No out there. But he was down like 3:00. Let's say he used to daven Shachris, Mincha Marv. So who knows? But David Abba Chatzeris said about him. He says he was the one who brought the tefillos of Klal Yisrael up. So you had to wait till the end of the day to daven. Isn't that wild? Yeah. So anyway, what I mean to say, there's like the people we know, and then there's like the tzaddikim are in touch with each other. You know, like the Baba Sali was waiting for Mordechai Eliyahu. That's famous. Yeah. When the Mordechai Eliyahu came, he said, "I've been waiting for you. Where were you?" You know, you know what I mean. They're waiting for each other. So anyway, but on a similar, these holy neshamas, they're, you know, it's not for us guys, not for us, but it was for them. So Mashiach is, I always get chizuk from this. You know, Mashiach is sending to your heart. You know, Kadosh Baruch Hu for sure is b'mechazik us, but Mashiach is b'mechazik us also. Like we talk about the Shiva Roim, right? And that's the best example I think we find it. You know, you're inviting the Ushpizin. What do you mean? Yeah. No, Avram's here. That's what it means. That's simple shot, right? I heard someone does in the rational said, no, it means like, you know, the ideas of Avram. You want to learn it that way, learn it that way. It's not the pashtus. It's not what that result thing I thought. It's not what the people made it up. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? If you do it, know what it is. You know? You understand? That's not what it is. It means that. What does it mean exactly? I don't know. It's Avram is this. I don't know. I don't know what it means exactly, because I don't know what it means exactly. But it means I know it's something. You know what I'm saying? Thinking it's a reality. Avram is still somehow with us in some way. Yep. Okay. Right. It's nice, no? It's just me gets chizuk. Mashiach sending chizuk, you know. Okay. Ella shetokef agolos v'klipus amolik sodman ba'ada petach l'malon mativ. But you know he's sending his love, yeah. But you got the bad guys are stopping it. Huh? Mikomakim b'Shabbos, b'Shabbos shekulu arikin and lukman at the Huma Rabbah. Shabbos, the Rebbe always says that and this is from Zohar that reads off for sure. On Shabbos, it says all the bad guys run away. The Kedusha Shabbos is so great, the negative kokos have to run away. Yeah, we've done this a bunch of times. Kul Arkin means they all run L'nukva de Toma. They run to the left side, the deep left side. Ministalka Stim, and then they're not blocking anything. Benemar B'Yom Shabbos Yiftach. Ubiyom Shabbos Yifatech, something I don't know the exact passing. Raz Shu Meir Lev G'Yisrael Shulhuv Derechimen Zurm Nishmas Mashiach Umisha Rotzel Hargish Margish. You want to feel it, you could feel it. Said that you could feel it that Mashiach is there. So guys, when is Mashiach trying to get the message across to us? All the time. But the negative kochas are blocking him, right? But then Shabbos, they're scared. So what comes flowing is Mashiach talk. Mashiach. Vinay. Okay, that's so beautiful. Vinay, Shabbos kvi v'kaim v'einatol b'kiddush beistin. Ubehekru mitzad atzmo shel Shabbos arkin kanal. They run away because of Shabbos itself. Ach mitzad z'atzmo she'en bo tfisas yad adam hu rochik mod mi'adam ha'omei b'olam hazeh v'Shabbos u'mein olam haba ein koch b'yad ha'adam l'kablo kol kach b'shleimus. The same idea we said in the last piece. That's why I did that piece before. What he's saying is like this. Shabbos is so holy, but guess what? It creates a problem for us also. The bad guys run away. Yeah. But the question is us who's trying, how can we attach ourselves to Shabbos? It's so high, we need an attachment. Same problem he brought in the last piece. Ulumato moadim, this is Gishmak. So you know what allows us to get to Shabbos? Not Erev Shabbos now? Yom Tov. Yom Tov is a lower Kedusha, and through the Yom Tov we have we have Shaykhs to Yom Tov, and therefore through that we connect, it's like, I'll give you an example. Akiva Tatz. Where is Akiva Tatz? He will be the first one to say this. Akiva Tatz or Moshe Shapiro? No. There's a Moshe Shapiro, there's Akiva Tatz, right? But I always give this example. But how in the world can I understand Moshe Shapiro? Akiva Tatz, he interpreted it. So now through Shaykhs to Akiva Tatz, now I understand a little bit from Moshe Shapiro. You know? So that's the Uloma so modim in tuli b'kiddush beistin mishpach sibu. I looked for this passage, I couldn't find it. Ukamoshe higid kvod kedusha avi. Why say mishpat by Yom Tov? Shu mishpat ad kami yesh rishus l'kochas chitzonim. Let's see that. V'yetzik or mishpat shebehir or Rosh Chodesh v'Yom Tov elam oved shlita. V'shu me'ir libes b'nei tzor kedushas Yom Tov or sheniver b'Yom Rishon k'moshe kasav b'dibarnim b'zaharbe. U'medref v'yomer elokim he or it's a or shel Mashiach. So B'kitzer, without getting stuck in the technicality of what he's saying, we don't have time right now. But go on. So Yom Tov also opens up the gates. V'nira she Yom Tov. Here's the line. I should have made this line bold. V'nira she Yom Tov v'emtsoy ben Shabbos l'meichol. U'be'emtzes Yom Tov sheish bo tfisas yad adam yisrael zochen l'Shabbos. V'im toku advar ma'pimad isa ba'maral she Yom Tov hu me'ein yimos ha'Mashiach v'shav shu me'ein olam haba. Incredible. Incredible, guys. So again, you guys know that because we say Mekadosh Yisrael Vazmanim, right? Yeah. We know we have more Shabbos, right? So there's Shabbos, we're here, Shabbos is here. Mahalach number one is Erev Shabbos connects us. Right? Okay, different Torah Misbrav, the whole different Mahalach. We're here, Shabbos here, same problem. Yom Tov connects us. Why? Because Yom Tov is very holy, but we're involved in Yom Tov. We make it holy. Yeah. It's dependent on us. All the things you've heard, right? Those ideas you heard. Now, guys, I want to show you in Svara where it's like that also, because I find personally, and for a lot of people, it's a lot easier to attach yourself to the Torahs of Yom Tov than it is to attach yourself to the Torahs of Shabbos, right? What Shavuos all about? Oh, right away, Yom Bikurim, and we got Korbanos, and we got Matan Torah. What's Pesach? Pesach. It's Sukkot. Yeah, everybody knows. What's Shabbos exactly? Well, this Shem MiShmuel talked about it. It's much more. It's much more obscure. It's much more right. What that shows you, it's a higher kedusha. I think. See what I'm saying? The fact that it's very, very hard to attach yourself to it. It's hard to connect. Some people are very connected. You might feel emotionally. You might know inside, like a das inside. But to explain it, it's much harder to explain. Yeah, you agree with me? I know myself. You know, I mean, like there's so many different Torah I have on the Chagim. On Shabbos, like I work on it, it's further for me. Yeah, you got it? So I think that's the same thing. And that's what Maral says, the Yom Tov is Keneged Yemos HaMashiach, but then after Yemos HaMashiach, that's Olam Haba, right? So it's a stage. So guys, the same thing. That's the three again. That's why I said, let's do this piece. Our world, Olam Haba, Mashiach. Right? Al-Kain, Muvan Shekain, Nam Yom Tov, Hu Muvutza Ben Shabbos LeMichol. When it says Yom Tov, see, this is Chiddush. The Maral said that already, but he's taking the Maral's idea and applying it to Shabbos us. But then it says Yom Tov Shebeis in Mekachin Le Sheyesh B'Yisrael Yichol Lekabel Or Kedusha Shabbos. Beautiful. Now, let's finish the paragraph. It's already, so we can stop here. It's so delicious. But Lo Yachal Dvaro Perish Rashi Lo Yaseh Dvaro Chulin. What's it, you guys? Don't make your words Chulin. Lo Yachal Dvaro, our parsha. Remember this. Lo Yachal Dvaro means don't make your words chul. Don't make your words chol. Don't make your words. Don't desecrate your words. Don't make them mundane. Michlal. So what do you see? Shedibri so kaddish. You know why? Because the words of a yid are koli. The shamas of yidden. The Jewish words, Jewish explanations are holy. Naturally, Jews speak in a holy way. That's why the Goyim don't have it. Goyim are beseder. But the Lo Yachal means don't make your holiness Chol, but they don't have that holiness, therefore they don't have that Isser. Right? Because the Jewish people is from some high level kedushin. Kodesh Yisrael Hashem, Vayim Bezar Kodesh, Yishikasam Neil Mash Yisrael Krevim Liyamtiv, Whom Yishim Dekol Atzma Shel Yamtiv, Whom Yikach Kiddush Beistin. And you see that, right? There's Beistin and there's kedusha. Our kedusha relates to Yamtiv, and then we connect to Shabbos, etc. Move on. Dekolin Bal Yachol Sheis Yisrael, Whom Yishum She Yisrael Nochlin Shabbos, V'Amtzah Samodim Atzulim BeBeisin Rosh Yamatos. And now what? We'll say, and how do we get? Again, we got Shabbos and we get Yamtiv, right? Yamtiv connects us to Shabbos. So here's what he's trying to say, guys. Why are we saying all this? Because the last parsha was all about Kedusha Shabbos and the Kedushas Amoadim. Right? How did that work? Because Yom Tov connected to Shabbos, we're connected to all this. You're connected to Yom Tov, you're connected to Shabbos, you're connected to that all Marechas Kedusha. Now I can talk to you about your holy mouth. That's what we asked. Why is the Parshas Amoados the introduction to the Parsha Nadarim? If the Dharim are just a physical thing, you make a nether, like we would think about it, right? You make a nether, now it's a nether, right? Jews have that, Goyim have that, it's a svara. No, it's not a svara. Non-Jews should be honest. Being honest is for non-Jews also, right? But Nadarim, Lo Yachal Dvaro, the Kedusha, and the struggle, that's a Jewish Parsha. Who says Klal Yisrael so Kaddish? Look back in Parshas Pinchas. That Parsha of Kedusha Moadim, that's what gives you all the Kedusha. That's what kicks all Kedusha. The Kol Inyan shall Yachel Bal Yachel Sheish B'Yisrael Who Mishum D'Yisrael Nochlin Shabbos V'Emtzaz Moadim Tluim Beis and Rosh Hashanah. Again, Samach Inyan Lo Parshas Nedarim B'Shavuos Lo Parsha Moadim V'Idchil Parsha El Rosh Hamatos Loras Al Yono. And that's why it says, guys, look back. Yidar Moshe El Rosh Hamatos, because I think the Rosh Hamatos means what? The heads of the matzah, that's like the Beis Din. Yeah. The Beis Din, that's the connection. Okay, so that's the idea. So we're both saying, so why is this parsha of Nadarim so late in the Torah? Because it had to be after the parsha of Korbanos. Now, why the parsha of Korbanos is late, I don't know, but it had to be after that. Okay, and why after parsha of Moados? That's what we just learned, because the kedusha. What's the relation between the kedusha of Shabbos and Yom Tov and Klal Yisrael? Klal Yisrael is here. We want to connect to Shabbos. We need Yom Tov to connect us. Why is there no command of Lo Yachal Dvaro to non-Jews? Because they're dibur, not because they're not good. Not because they're bad, but they're not Kodesh. Our words are Kodesh. A Jew's words are Kodesh. Therefore, he has to be careful. He can make the Dharim, and therefore he can be machal his words. A non-Jew doesn't have that potential. right? That with great power comes great obligation, right? That's our blood. But Jew, that's why it's Saturn. So when we see a non-Jew off the derech, it's chaval. Chaval, mankind is not being with it, but a yid's off the derech. It's a certain way it's worse because of all of his potential. He has such potential for kedusha. That's why also Yetzer Hara sometimes messes around with Jews more because it knows the potential is more. And therefore, non-Jews you can leave alone a little bit, but also by Nashim Gedolim sometimes. And the Yetzer Hara works hard to mess up an Adam Gadol. Okay, friends, very good. Shkoyach.